The Chelsea Fancast, my 2-minute fan bite. The Premier League game was the Blades of Sheffield United at Stamford Bridge. Now, let's be super frank. The Blades had as much cutting edge as a rubber cabbage. I don't think they had one shot on target all game. They just sat back and waited for us as we disappeared up our own backsides with tediously slow sideways and backwards passing. It was a complete festival of snooze. A bloke behind me started foaming at the mouth with despair. And it had 0-0 written all over it until a 7-minute burst in the second half, where despite VAR having us scared to celebrate, we scored a couple. Meanwhile, back in the first half, as I've said, Sheffield, the home of the penknife and the saw, having set up a low block, really made very little effort to do anything else, even when they went 2 goals down. Consequently, our young goalie Petrovic, replacing the injured Sanchez, had very little to do, which was very possibly a good thing, as this was his home debut. Anyway, I forgot to say, Fernandez was dropped, gasp, and we played a weird kind of 4-2-4 with Gillette on the right and Wiz, the fastest man in the whole world, on the left. And he actually had a shot in the first half that went out for a throw. And short shorts once again, the most offside centre forward we've had since Morata was in the middle. This meant that the excellent Palmer, what a good player, was just behind him, and Moises and Connor were running the midfield, and Moises was the best I've seen him. 100% more energy, biting the tackle, sweet with his distribution. He looked worth about 30 million, so only another 75 million to go. We all at half-time had that fear that despite our being completely all over them, they get a freak breakaway goal as Forest did, but the second half saw a bit more effort, so Poch would possibly explain we needed to score to win the game. Good old Poch. Palmer backed in after Gillette had driven excellently to the byline and crossed. The second was the consequence of Palmer, now more on the right, finding Sterling again. The ball fell back to Palmer, who crossed for Jackson to tap in. Poch then brought on Fernandez for Wiz, Broja for Jackson, who missed a sitter, and we all thought, time for Nkunku, the most awaited debut from the player whose reputation has grown the more he hasn't played. And yes, Poch made 2 subs, and they were Maatsen and Gusto. Incidentally, Jackson has equalled Kai Havertz's best goal tally ever for us in just half a season, and he's shite. I'll be back on the Chelsea Fancast on Monday with Stamford Bridge and guests to discuss this turgid win at 7:30. Make sure you listen on Mixler, download it from Acast, all good podcast providers. Come on, Ukraine, and thank you. Get well, Luton, Stom Lockyer.